Dodgers 11. One second, I'll be back. Thank you for the likes, Dodgers 11. I appreciate it. Hey, Drano's here too. All right. I am willing to bring people on tonight if they want to join the show a little bit after I do my opening stuff here. So feel free if you want to jump on with me. I will allow it. We'll get started in about one more minute here. Hang in there with me. Feel free to hit up the chat as well if you guys have something to say. Almost ready. All right. Okay, feel free to drop your takes in the chat on both YouTube Live and Colorcast. Please do so down there. That would be great. Then I can respond to your messages and what you guys are thinking about. Got a lot of stuff happening today, so I wanted to get to all of that. So yeah, welcome to Colorcast. This is Too Tall Sports, the Too Tall Sports show. I have a podcast every Thursday that drops called Too Tall Sports Podcast, where you can see me and listen to my interviews with great people like my man Drano Lano, who's on the call tonight. So you get great stories on the Too Tall Sports Podcast. I appreciate you guys all being here tonight. I'll give you the rundown. And as always, you can follow me at Too Tall Sports Podcast. That's on Instagram. On Twitter, it's at Too Tall Sports. TikTok, it's at Too Tall Sports Podcast. So plenty of content for you guys. I've done lots of videos, and there's a ton to talk about today, especially in the NFL, I'm sure, as most of you saw. So I will give you the rundown. Definitely going to hit on Russell Wilson getting traded to Denver. That's the big news of the day. Also, Aaron Rodgers staying in Green Bay. We'll talk a little bit about that. What does it mean for both teams? What does it mean for the AFC and the NFC now with all the player movement? So we'll discuss that. Also want to get to Calvin Ridley being suspended for at least 1 year in the 2022 season for his gambling and $1,500 bet. We will talk about that. I did want to get to some NBA talk as well. The Celtics are hitting their stride right now. Not sure where Ben Simmons is for Brooklyn yet. I don't know what he's been doing the last year. Well, maybe a little bit of March Madness stuff. LeBron's big night against the Warriors didn't really mean anything in the grand scheme of things. The Warriors, by the way, totally different team without Draymond Green. We might be hitting that as well. Nikola Jokic, still underappreciated. So I don't know why, but he's the MVP for a reason, and people are still doubting him. So we can get there. And also, what's going on with Arizona State? The QB, Jaden Daniels, is going to LSU with Brian Kelly, so we can talk a little bit about that. What's going on with Herm Edwards at Arizona State? The program's kind of falling apart there. So, and Dodgers 11 says the T-Wolves hitting their stride. Yes, they are. As a wonderful, what are they, the 6th seed? Let's find out. Let's see where they are, just because I have time to look. Big game for Gonzaga tonight, a rematch against St. Mary's, which they need to win. It's close right now in the second half. The Minnesota Timberwolves are the 7 seed. Congratulations. They are 8-2 in their last 10, though. So I see you working, Minnesota. I see you working. All right, let's start with some NFL, where everybody seems to be wanting to talk about. You're welcome, Dodgers 11. Let's start with Russell Wilson. Wow, huge move. I made a video about it today. Did not see that one coming. Literally an hour maybe after the news broke about Rodgers re-signing with the Packers, you get Russell Wilson in a splash move by Denver. John Elway pulled this off. He's done it before with Peyton Manning, and he's had miss after miss after miss in the draft, whether it was Trevor Siemian, Drew Lock, you name it. I mean, I hate to say it, crappy Tim Tebow because he wasn't very good. So all these quarterbacks that John Elway missed on, the best way to go do it is to go get a big name quarterback. And that's what he did. So he traded away 2 firsts, 2 seconds, and like 3 players to get Russell Wilson. But I think at the end of the day, huge move. It's the right move. To me, whoever gets the best player in the trade wins the trade. I don't care if it's short-term, long-term, whatever. Just like the Ben Simmons trade for Harden. We'll get into Ben Simmons a little bit later if we have time, but Philadelphia won that trade, and you can see what's happening with Philadelphia now, how good they look with Harden versus Ben Simmons, who wasn't even playing at all. So Denver won this trade. I know they give up a lot. They give up Noah Fant, who's a good tight end, but you can't replace top-tier quarterback play. You just can't. So John Elway takes a big swing, and now Russell Wilson comes into the AFC West, which, by the way, completely stacked AFC West. Maybe this is why Aaron Rodgers really didn't want to leave, and I'll talk about Rodgers in a second. But you got Russell Wilson now in the same division as Justin Herbert with the Chargers, who should only be getting better. Maybe if they stop going for it on every 4th down, we'll be okay with the Chargers getting better. But they make some reckless decisions there with Brandon Staley at the helm. Then you got the Raiders with a new regime. Josh McDaniels comes in. Derek Carr is still pretty good. He's like a mid 10 to 15 level quarterback, but still very capable. They just need some more weapons, and they can't keep missing on the draft. Talking about the Raiders now. They have to hit on their picks. So if they can get right, the Raiders should theoretically, with Josh McDaniels, be a little bit better. And then, of course, you have the Chiefs, the class of the division, right? The Chiefs are Super Bowl contenders every year. And so now you bring Russell Wilson in as the 4th quarterback. He's not the 4th best, but he's arguably 2nd or 3rd best if you want to say Herbert after Mahomes. This is a loaded AFC West division. It's going to be a gauntlet all year long. And, the Seahawks were not going to trade Russell Wilson within the NFC, so they made him go to the AFC. But the Broncos moved quick, man. They moved super quick on this. And so now you got a very talented Denver team from what everyone's telling me how good they are. I think they had the 3rd best defense last year, so Super Bowl possibly ready. They got a lot of young talent on offense, and they should be a contender next year. Now, I don't know how far they go in the AFC. You still got Buffalo, obviously Kansas City. You got Cincinnati. If they got to a Super Bowl with a terrible offensive line. There's teams in the AFC that are in the way of Denver, but they're going to be much more exciting, and you would think with a future potential Hall of Fame quarterback, going to be much better moving forward. So great move for Denver. I like where they're at. Now, let's talk about Seattle. Obviously, Russell Wilson has not been happy there. Pete Carroll is 70 years old now, okay? The league is starting to pass him by. The Legion of Boom has been gone for a long time. They don't have the same defensive identity. And since Marshawn Lynch has been out of there, they don't have the running game identity either. You got DK Metcalf and you got Tyler Lockett, and you got some talent on offense there in the receiving core, but it's just not the same anymore that what it once was, 5-10 years ago. So Russell Wilson gets out of there, and now Pete Carroll is going to have to deal with what I think Drew Lock went back in that trade. It's kind of you don't want to be in the middle. That's where Seattle is, in the middle. You're good enough to be competitive, but you're not going to make the playoffs, and you're not bad enough to get a good draft pick. The worst place in sports is in the middle, and that's where Seattle is. So what they need to do is either go out and get, I don't know who's even available right now on the quarterback market that's worth anything anymore. I don't think Carson Wentz is an answer. He's not going to solve their problems. They may have to go full rebuild. And I saw they just released Bobby Wagner as well, who came in the same year Russell Wilson did, 2012, 10 years ago. 8-time Pro Bowler. He's an all-pro player, linebacker for the Seahawks. And they just let Bobby Wagner go. I think they're going to shed a bunch of salary. They're going to get under the cap, and they're going to rebuild this thing now. I don't know how long Pete Carroll is going to be along for that ride as well. Like I said, 70 years old, not exactly fit for a rebuild. I know he's young at heart and he's fun and energetic, but you lose the heart and soul of your team in Russell Wilson. And they're in arguably one of the toughest divisions in football, right? You got the Rams just won the Super Bowl. San Francisco, not sure, but they got tons of talent other than Jimmy Garoppolo. And then you got Arizona, who is good, not great. They haven't been good in the second halves of seasons with Kyler Murray, but they do have a lot of talent there still. So if they get the contract figured out with Kyler, Arizona still, remember, they started 7-0. They're not a joke, okay? So Seattle's in the toughest division, you could argue, in the NFL. Maybe now it's the AFC West with Wilson going to Denver, but the NFC West is really hard. So you're going to have the fourth best quarterback now in the NFC West. I don't know if Pete Carroll's going to stick around for that. So huge move for Denver. I love what it does. I like when teams go for it like that. Draft picks are a complete crapshoot, so it is what it is with that. But great move by John Elway, and we'll see if he can pull it off again. And I saw another weird stat. Russell Wilson's the only quarterback to go to a team that he actually beat in the Super Bowl. I know this was 10, how many, 6, 7, 8 years ago, but kind of interesting. He's going to the team that he beat in the Super Bowl when Peyton was there. So times are a-changing, as they say. Now let's move to Aaron Rodgers. I did want to hit on this a little bit. So after all the drama, the last year plus, everything comes to a close, it seems, and Rodgers re-signs with the Packers for $200 million, reportedly 153 of it guaranteed. Most wins ever by a QB in his first 10 years. Who's that? Russell Wilson? Damn, that's good stuff. How many Super Bowls? 1? Oh, okay, cool. Mostly by the defense, right? Oh, okay, cool. Anyways, back to Aaron Rodgers. With that much 153 guaranteed, I believe from what the experts are saying, it helps the cap. And I think that if they can, now they franchise tags Devontae Adams, so that happened. And then now they're going to have to make a decision on some of the defensive players that they have. Everyone wants to tell me how good Aaron Rodgers, the talent around him is. Let's be real. Outside of Devontae Adams and Aaron Jones is legit running back. A.J. Dillon's pretty good. But receiving core-wise, Valdez-Scantling, Lazard, old Randall Cobb, who Aaron Rodgers wanted to bring back because he's one of his buddies. I get that. But Green Bay had the 16th, according to Pro Football Focus. Everybody loves PFF. 16th rated offensive line. It wasn't that good. They're middle of the pack. But what they do have is the worst special teams group in the league. And they just hired the guy who was coaching for the Raiders, Rich Bisaccia, to come in, and he's supposed to be the special teams guru. So hopefully the Packers can figure out their special teams because as we saw in the NFC divisional round, I believe, the Packers lost Rodgers didn't play very well, but they had a blocked punt for a touchdown and a blocked field goal. So let's clean up the special teams a little bit to give Rodgers a chance. But I will say this, now that you got all the money in the world, people are going to tell you either took too much and you didn't build enough around you because there's no money left over, or you got paid enough of the BS. It's time to go win a Super Bowl now. And now, with the NFC completely cleared out outside of the Rams, and you could argue maybe San Francisco, maybe the Cardinals, right? Just basically the NFC West. Outside of the NFC West, who do you have? We're not sure who's going to be the quarterback in Tampa, even though they have a loaded roster. And Dallas is a good NFC East team, right? I mentioned this many times about Dallas last year. It was a total facade. Even though they went 11-6, they went 6-0 against the NFC East and 6-5 against the rest of the league. So, or 12-5, whatever their total record was. They were just a product of a terrible, arguably worst division in football, the NFC East. So don't give me the Cowboys until they get over the hump. Let's see them win a playoff game before Mike McCarthy is anointed as a good coach, because he doesn't seem like he's that great of a coach, to be honest. So Rodgers, who it started to leak that he likes LaFleur, the coach, and they're about the same age. There's some similarities there, and he's offensive minded. He's trusting him. After all the crap with Jordan Love, let's remember, people try to say Aaron Rodgers is a diva, which he might be, but he did not create this mess. The Packers thought he was done at the time he was 36 years old, and they traded up to draft his replacement, which now they are basically admitting with a 4-year, $200 million deal was a huge mistake by drafting Jordan Love. And we saw Jordan Love for the one game that he played this year. I don't think he was ready. Not totally his fault. He got kind of thrown into the situation. He had that one game against Kansas City at Arrowhead. Good luck, right? And young quarterback, I get that. But the Packers realize that we need the back-to-back MVP who still looks to be in prime shape. We need him back, or otherwise we're going to be irrelevant now. And they had to cave. So did Rodgers kind of play them? You know, he knows Green Bay needs him. He knows that. So he had all the leverage. He could have left. He could have retired. He could have done all these things. But he used his platform and leverage to get the highest paid contract in history, annual salary-wise. So whatever he did worked. I think he actually really wanted to still be there. I don't think he wanted to leave. And I don't think he wanted to be in the AFC either at his age. And just like we'll see if Russell Wilson can handle it, but it's not going to be easy getting through these young quarterbacks that you might think so. So for Rodgers to stay in Green Bay, he's going to dominate the NFC North like he always does. I don't believe in Chicago, even though Justin Fields is young. The Lions are a mess still, even though they're trending in the right direction. And the Vikings have a ton of talent. We don't know what Kevin O'Connell's going to do, the former Rams OC. We'll see what he comes in and does for the Vikings with a ton of talent on the roster. Well, do you believe in Kirk Cousins? I don't know. Do you believe in that defense that's getting a little older and some of those, veteran linebackers are still there in Minnesota and the front line's getting a little older? I don't know. I'm not sure what to think about Minnesota. They got tons of talent, though. So can Dalvin Cook stay healthy and can they get Justin Jefferson the ball? That's pretty much what it comes down to. So we'll see what kind of game Kirk Cousins has next year with the new offensive-minded coach versus grumpy old defensive Zimmer. But Rodgers is going to win the NFC North again. So you're probably going to get a home playoff game. This is what people forget about Brady. Tom Brady used to do this to the AFC East when he was there. Buffalo, the Jets, and the Dolphins were completely irrelevant for basically 20 years. And you would get a first-round bye and a home playoff game. I'm a huge Aaron Rodgers guy. However, the NFC is as weak as it's ever been. This is your time. Outside of the Rams, pretty much, you get another crack at the Niners. I think you could probably get them. But this is it. This is a Super Bowl or bust contract now for Rodgers. Back-to-back MVPs. You're still in their prime. They got to go get this one. So I'm all for him getting the pieces he needs. But did he take too much money? You guys let me know what you think on that. Maybe he did. Maybe he didn't. But he's earned every penny. When you're back-to-back MVP and you throw the ball the way he does, he's earned it. Anyways, a lot on that. Haven't even talked about Calvin Ridley yet. It's amazing that some people just think that they can get away with stuff or it's just not that big of a deal. When you come into camp every year and when you're a rookie, you come into the NFL, there's a few things they tell you that you can't do from what I hear. Obviously, one, drink and drive. You cannot do that. Nowadays, domestic violence is definitely more – people are more aware of it. You can't beat people up and you can't beat up your significant other. We know that. And the other big thing you can't do is you can't bet on football. If you're an NFL player that's active, you cannot bet on the games, let alone your own team. Even if you're betting on them to win, you are compromising the purity and integrity of the game. And the NFL is an entertainment product, but if you cannot lose the integrity of the game, that's why there's rules in place. You cannot have players being bought to go throw games or point shave or any of that stuff. You cannot allow that because fans will lose interest. And once you lose the fans and the trust, you lose them. People aren't going to come back to that. You can't trust it. It's a product that's fake or it's manufactured too much. People want to believe in fairness. And if you have guys that are throwing games or betting on games, no matter how small of a deal that Calvin Ridley stuff was, you cannot allow players to bet on games. It's as simple as that. Drano says, no, let the refs do it. There is, has there been some of that in the past? I won't lie. Probably, yes. Refs control games. They can throw a flag. They can call a foul in the NBA. Refs have a lot of control. And if that's happening, that's bad too, right? We're not getting a true product. And I guarantee you there's definitely some interest around the league who they want to be in high leverage games and high leverage moments, especially in the playoffs. These networks pay a lot of money to get this product on TV, and it would behoove them. I agree, Goodell's henchman. It would behoove them to get popular names and teams in the playoffs. So I'm sure they weren't thrilled that Cincinnati made it and the Chiefs didn't. So I'm with you on that. Ratings are a huge deal. It is entertainment at the end of the day. So there's definitely questions about that. Plus, you got the whole Stephen Ross thing. If you don't know who Stephen Ross is, the owner of the Miami Dolphins reportedly, allegedly, was paying or wanted to pay Brian Flores, the former coach, to tank and lose games. If that's happening, you got to take the team away from somebody, right? You cannot do that. Even if you want to tank, you cannot allow that kind of manipulation. Again, losing the integrity of the game. You cannot allow that. And so that's just as bad, if not worse, than what Ridley did. If someone's paying you to tank, that's the same thing, right? You're throwing games. If that's true, you got to make them sell the team. That's terrible. So there's a lot of shady stuff that happens. I understand that in sports. But I just think the stupidity here. I know Calvin Ridley's got a lot of talent, a ton of talent, but you couldn't just get one of your buddies or your family members to put the bet in for you. And $1,500, you're going to lose $11 million salary-wise by getting suspended for the next year. $11 million for a $1,500 parlay. Even if you hit, you're probably going to make like $6,000 for what? I don't know. To me, you got to think big picture here, not just in the moment. You got to think long term here. So, that's a tough one, man. And Ridley stepped away for mental health issues last year. So not only was he not even part of the team, this dude decided to gamble while he was away from the team because he was probably bored or whatever. Who knows? Whatever the reason is. But it's not a good look. It's not a good look when you step away from football for mental health reasons and you're using your time betting on football. Not good. Not a good look. So not sure what's going to happen with Ridley. Now, they did say at least the 2022 season, right? That's minimum of what he's going to get suspended for. It might be beyond that once the NFL, maybe wakes up a little bit. And I like how people are trying to bring up, the NFL is in bed with DraftKings and FanDuel. Yeah, for us, the fans, to bet on games, not for the players to bet on games. Dude, I hate that correlation. Those two are not the same. That's like saying the NFL is in bed with Budweiser and Coors, but when someone gets a drunk driving accident, it's like, they were drinking beer. No, it is not for the players. It's a partnership. It's a business. It's not for the players to use. It's for the fans. Fans are going to bring the money in betting, not the players. I hate when people use that as like, the NFL loves betting. Yeah, they do. It's a great business for them. They get a cut of every bet. So yeah, they should embrace it. It's an entertainment product, not meant to be used by the active players in the league. Anyway, I got fired up about that one. That's just stupidity. I don't think you can really. How can you argue for it? It's not like he was even doing FanDuel where he was picking players for the day because he had inside information on that. He's doing parlays, including the Falcons and his stuff. I don't know. I don't like it. Anyways, we'll move on. I did want to talk about what's going on in the NBA a little bit here. Still not sure what's going on with Ben Simmons. Apparently he has back spasms because he's trying to work his way back into shape to play. Where have you been the last year? I'm not. What has he been doing? I know he's working on his mental health, which is fine, but you're still not ready to play physically, or is it mentally? They're really not saying. I'm not sure. I don't get the whole Ben Simmons thing. How are you not ready to play by now? All you've been doing, according to you, Ben, is working out and getting ready in case something were to happen. So now you're hurt as soon as you're traded. Exactly. I agree, Drano. Why wasn't he in shape? I don't know. What was he thinking? Maybe he actually never thought he'd get traded. I'm sure his representatives told him that it was going to happen and they were working on it. It was the perfect storm because Harden wanted out of Brooklyn. Now you go, how does this help Ben Simmons? I know Philly is a bigger market than Brooklyn, but Brooklyn's still in New York, a heavy media market. And you're going to a team with Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving that have expectations for a title. And you can't hide from the media there. I think he's still terrified to get on the court. I never thought Ben Simmons loved basketball personally. I don't see the passion. I think he happened to be athletic and is pretty good at it, but I don't see Ben Simmons being a hooper, as they say. I think as a lot of guys in the NBA, they love the lifestyle. They love what comes with being an NBA player. I don't see the passion from Ben Simmons when I watch him play. I just don't. I think he's just floating, running through the motions here. I just think he's going through the motions. 76ers. Yeah, I'm with you. So the 76ers that was a huge trade for them. I know they gave up on Drummond and Seth Curry is a good 3-point shooter, but you got rid of Ben Simmons, who was on the couch, so to speak, for an MVP, a former MVP in Harden, who's motivated to play with Embiid, who's in MVP form right now. 76ers totally won that trade. I don't understand how people say Brooklyn won that. I don't see how. Brooklyn's terrible. Even with KD coming back, they're not a good team. Sixers are ready to win at least the East right now. And just for Drano, my buddy who's on the call, the Celtics are starting to play really, really well. They just beat Brooklyn the other day. I watched that game. Jason Tatum had 54 points. The dude is starting to find himself. If Jaylen Brown and him can stay healthy, they made the trades at the deadline to get Horford back, who's a defensive stopper. Daniel Tice is a big man that also helps on the defensive end. And you got the heart and soul in Marcus Smart. If the Celtics can just keep it together and they're known for their defense, they are going to, I'm not saying they're going to win the East because I don't think they will, but they're going to be a tough out. I will say that. And they're starting to buy into Udoka, the new coach's plan or his schemes, whatever they are. It just seems like Boston is really starting to put it together now. They got rid of Dennis Schroeder at the deadline, just clear some space for other people. So I'm liking what I'm seeing from Boston right now. They're looking pretty good. So, like I said, I don't believe they'll win the East, but I think they're going to be second round, maybe even beyond. So I like what I'm seeing from the Celtics. Let me just say that. Can we talk about how underrated Jokic is? It's on my list. I'll get there now before the end of the show. He completely took over the other day. I forget who it was against, but he brought the team back from way down, and he does everything. He's in MVP form. He's in a market that nobody watches. And now that Jamal Murray's been out for a while, who they're supposed to come back, Michael Porter Jr. has been out for a while. Nikola Jokic could easily win the MVP again, and he deserves to win the MVP again. I know Joel Embiid is playing out of his mind. I know Giannis is still great, and those two definitely also deserve consideration. But I would not be mad if Jokic won another MVP with much less talent around him. Like I mentioned, the guys that are out. He's down two major starters. No other team is really missing that, right? Even before the Simmons trade, Embiid had Seth Curry. He had Tobias Harris. He had Tyrese Maxey. He's got Thibault. That team is stacked also. So it's not like Embiid's working with nothing here. So I think Jokic, just based on lack of talent around him, and you could talk about Giannis, it's the same team that went to the finals pretty much last year outside of PJ Tucker, which was a complete misstep by them to let him go. But outside of him, you got Middleton dropped 44 the other day. Drew Holiday's back. They're still good. And Bobby Portis. So Milwaukee's still got talent. Denver doesn't have much. It's pretty much Jokic running the show. And he's got them in the playoff hunt. Denver right now is sixth, right ahead of Minnesota. So at 39-26 right now, they're 9-1 in their last 10, Denver is. I can't believe that, with basically Jokic doing everything. So I got to give Jokic some props, definitely, before I move on to the next topic here. I did want to bring up the Warriors, actually. Their record with Draymond and without is pretty insane. I forget what it was with, but it was way over 500. But without, I think I saw the other day, they're like 15-15, exactly 500 with Draymond. And a lot of people get on Draymond because he's loud. Excuse me. And he, can be a little bit combative. And he isn't the best shooter. He's a little unorthodox, not the best athlete. But the guy is a freaking defensive stopper, and he runs that offense. Draymond runs that offense. Steph's amazing. I love Steph. I love watching him play. He does everything well. Steph's still underappreciated for what he does. However, Steph and Clay are not the Splash Brothers without Draymond running that offense. They get to move freely. They can go off screens. They can move without the ball. Steph can do his thing. And Clay is a different player, being the third man versus really the second man in the offense, even though Draymond takes less shots. But I think his energy, he kind of like Marcus Smart, is the heart and soul of the Warriors. And I know it's Steph's town, it's Steph's team, it's all everything. And those championships don't happen without Steph. But people are starting to realize how important Draymond Green is to this Warriors team. So they need him to come back to have a chance at the title, especially in the West. If Chris Paul comes back for the Suns, it's going to be a tough out for the Warriors to get past the Suns in the West. Now, do I think Utah, Denver, Memphis is going to be tough, but they're still too young, in my opinion. Utah, Dallas, Denver, Minnesota, the Clippers. I don't believe in the Lakers or New Orleans. So, yeah, I just if Golden State's going to have a chance here, they got to get Draymond back in shape, ready to go for the playoffs. I think they have time to do it, but they're going to need to do that. Last thing I had for you was on ASU, Arizona State. There's a lot of coaches leaving Arizona State football program. The quarterback, Jaden Daniels, is leaving Herm Edwards at ASU to go to Brian Kelly, the new coach, former Notre Dame coach, at LSU. Brian Kelly's making things happen in this new transfer portal, and he's got a lot of money to work with at LSU and championship pedigree down there with a lot better talent down there. And it's tough to recruit Notre Dame with the academic standards, and you're in the cold in South Bend, Indiana. You go down to LSU, that is a hotbed of talent. And so now Brian Kelly's starting to make moves at LSU as soon as he gets there. So I'm not sure what's going on with ASU. They've had recruiting violations. They've underperformed every year that Herm's been there for the most part. They can't get the quarterback right. And with an NFL staff, Marvin Lewis, former Cincinnati Bengals coach, is there. Brian Billick, former Ravens coach, is there. They just lost Antonio Pierce. He's going to the NFL, I believe. The Raiders again. He's a former linebacker. But they have NFL coaches on a college staff, and they went 8-5 last year in a weak Pac-12. So I'm not sure what's going on with ASU. I don't know if Herm Edwards is going to last till next season. They've got lots of issues down there. I think the fan base is fed up with Herm. So obviously he's good coach, but can he do it at the college level? Maybe it's not so easy. They haven't been able to recruit the way that I think most folks bringing in an NFL coach like that with personality. They haven't been able to bring in the recruits like they thought they would. So interesting stuff happening in the Pac-12. We'll see, especially with Lincoln Riley going to SC. But we got plenty of time to talk about that. If I missed anything, let me know. Let's see. Dodger 11 says, as a USC fan, what should I expect from them next year? Excited about the offense, but the defense is bad. I don't know. The schedule is going to be really weak, a non-conference. So you're going to have an easy road there. And the Pac-12 is really weak. So you guys should go 12-0. That's my thought on USC. I don't know how if you're Spencer, what's his name, or Caleb Williams kid coming in, I don't know how good he is going to be. I got to see it, right? But clearly they're the favorite, right? With Lincoln Riley, they're the favorite in the Pac-12. Oregon's got the new coach, defensive coordinator from Georgia coming in. Are they the same? I think Lincoln Riley's walking into a gold mine of a weak conference and a lot of talent that he's going to bring over. So if they don't get in the football playoff next year, just based on the name, and the committee loves a good USC team, they want that West Coast representation so people out here will watch. And it's not just Florida, Georgia, Alabama, LSU. So we want some West Coast representation. So as much as I don't like USC, they should be, with a weak schedule, very good next year. So that's my answer on that, Dodgers 11. Hope you're happy. And you knew I was going to have to say they're good. So congrats to you on that. Any last words before I go? I'll give you the plugs if you guys have any last words. As always, you can follow me at Too Tall Sports Podcast. That's on Instagram. On Twitter, it's at Too Tall Sports. You can follow me there. Check out my YouTube channel. Check out my TikTok channel. Check out my Twitter, all that stuff. Instagram videos, everything. So hit me up at Too Tall Sports Podcast. Thank you all for joining me for another great show, as always, and have a great night. I will talk to you guys soon. And yeah, that'll do it for Too Tall Sports. See you guys.